So you want to be a Kaiser. So you want to fight for the glory of Kaiser. Or, I should let him say it. So you want to fight
for the glory of Kaiser!
Then you've come to the right class. So, Kaiser, everyone says his mobbing's not that great. I'm going to show you that his mobbing actually got a lot better. And it's really, really good, actually. So, before we get into that, because that's in 4th job, let's go over the beginner skills. So, I guess I'll explain Dragon Link first, because this is what a lot of people seem to have trouble with. I did explain it in a video a long time ago, but I'll explain it here, because why not? So, Dragon Link. It is a skill that you put on your keyboard, so you put it wherever you want. And then, after you do that, next is to look over at the right, or wherever you put this skill, because you can actually move it around. But wherever you put this, just look at it, see what you have to press in order to use the skill. So for Flame Surge, which is the 1st job skill, you have to press attack. Okay, you can stop talking now. Oh my goodness, he's so loud. Alright, so attack, and then press the Dragon Link skill. For the next attack, you press attack up, and then the Dragon Link, and so on. So yeah. The one that may be the most confusing is Dragon Barrage. And to use this, you don't press forward, you press whatever the opposite direction that you're facing. So that would be attack, left, and then Dragon Link. If I press right, I'll just do Flame Surge. And then of course if I'm facing to the left, I press right instead. So, like that. Okay, so now that I've explained Dragon Link, or actually I haven't fully, so when you use Dragon Link, like you use those commands, the skill that you used gets its final damage increased by 15%, which sounds really nice, but it's not really worth it, in my opinion. If there's any Kaisers out there that can tell me exactly why it's good, please feel free to in the comments. The only time I ever use a command is for Wing Beat. When using the commands for the Dragon Link, you actually gain Morph Gauge faster than if you don't. So first I'm going to use Wing Beat without using the command, and we'll see how quickly it grows. Okay, so it's growing pretty fast, and now I'm going to use the command. It does in fact increase faster. Alright, so moving on, we have Transfiguration, which is a passive that as you can see over here, there's the Morph Gauge, and as this fills up, you get different stages. So it says Stage 1, you get +1 attack speed and all this other stuff, and then 20% stance. So right now it's not full at all, it's filling up to the 1st stage. And if I were to actually get to the 1st stage, you see that my stance goes from 40 to 60. And just keep that in mind. By the way, the stacks, or I said it stacks, oh my god. What I meant to say is it does not stack. So Stage 1 and Stage 2, they do not stack. So the +1 attack speed is still only +1 attack speed of Stage 2, and then the 20% stance goes to 40% stance, not 60 because they don't stack. Okay, so already talked about that. Vertical Grapple, you can jump while using it, so you can actually get very high in the air. I can go all the way from the bottom, I believe I can reach the top. Maybe not. No, I can. So you can also cancel it in the middle. So if I wanted to end it early, I could press the skill again and drop down early. It also doesn't seem to have much of a cooldown. So if I drop down, as soon as I touch the floor, I can use it again. And it's just great vertical mobility. Okay, future Kyo here. When using the grappling hook, you don't actually have to touch the floor. You can use it again right after. Next we have the realigned skills. In attacker mode, you gain 5 attack. By the way, it's a toggle skill, so you can turn it on, turn it off. Well, you can't turn it off, you actually have to switch between the two, or log out, or die, or something to get rid of it. But in attack mode, I don't know why you would use defense mode, you gain attack power, crit rate, and boss damage. And this stacks among all of the advances that you get it. So it advances in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th job. And it all stacks. Alright, so then there's the... Yeah, I already said that. So then there's the defense one, which just gives you defense and percent HP. It stacks, but I don't know when you would want to use it. I mean, I guess if you just want to have more HP, fine, but it's not really worth it. So just always have the attack one on. And then at level 200, you can get exclusive spell, which I don't know why it's called that. It should be. Well, anyway, it's basically the what was that skill called? Mark of a Hero or something? No, not Mark of the Hero. Whatever. It's like every other 200 skills where you get you and people in the map. They don't have to be in your party. Get 4% attack power and magic attack power. Lasts 40 minutes, and the cooldown's 2 hours. Alright, so moving on to first job, we get Dragon Slash. And this you use just by pressing the attack key. If you hold it down, it doesn't do anything. If you press it multiple times, you'll go through all 3 animations. This is pretty much the mobbing skill that I used for all of the jobs until 4th job. Because it attacks fast, and it does very good damage. And it's just really nice for mobbing. Of course, mine is the 4th job version, but in first job it does, let's see. Yeah, it hits 3 times. How many enemies does it hit though, does it say? 6 enemies. So yeah, great mobbing skill. Oh, and in final form, of course, it does more damage, more times, and it's just really nice. It says, yeah. So yeah, great. Flame Surge. You just throw a flame. That's all. The flame does 2 hits. Oh, whoops, wrong skill. So the flame does 2 hits, and it also mobs. Oh, if I could find a mob. Here we go. So yeah. It's, I guess it's good if you want to stay far away from the enemies, but just pressing this skill, the regular attack, is much better. In my opinion. You do have to be closer, though. Then we have Airlift, which is your flash jump. Goes pretty far. It's not super far, but gets the job done. And a passive, which gives you 40% knockback resistance. So we'll move on to second job. It just increases the damage of Dragon Slash, the attack where you just hold down the key. Impact Wave, another skill that I never really used. I don't really know why. I mean, it does 2 lines. It's basically an upgrade to the first job. What was it? Flame Surge? But I didn't like it. Like I said, I would just use the main attack. Like, that was the way that I mobbed. All the way until 4th job. Piercing Blaze. You push enemies back and you can stun them. The thing is that you don't really need to use it, because you'll just be jumping in and, you know, slashing enemies like this. So you don't really need to do it. The main reason that I have it on my keyboard is because if I'm fighting, let's say, Galux or something, and the attack is coming from this spot right here, but there's, you know, I can go behind the enemy, then I'll dash through the enemy. Or during a pushback skill. So Magnus's spin, Lotus's main attack where he throws like pipes or something at you. You can pretty much ignore the knockback by using the appropriate timing with, you know, a rush skill. Tempest Blades. So this is the 4th job version where you summon 5, but in this version you only summon 1. And if you press it once, you summon them. And if you press it again with enemies nearby, you can throw them at enemies. And that will actually get your morph gauge filled up pretty quickly, if they all hit. Anything else I want to mention? Oh, and when you're in final form, which is the transformation in 3rd job, and 4th job, or actually, final form. Yeah, okay, so it's the 3rd job, which gets upgraded in 4th job. You get +1 attack to it, or number of attacks, so the amount of lines. I think it only does 4. Yeah, it only does 4 lines, normally. Or actually, in 2nd job it'll do 3, so. Then we get Blazon, which is 20 attack power and 2 attack speed. So it's your booster, but it also gives 20 attack. And the rest are passive. So in 3rd job, you get, you know, another upgrade to Dragon Slash. Wing Beat. I like to use this skill when I'm transformed and when I'm not transformed. Because not only, like, if you look at the morph gauge, it'll actually continue to fill the morph gauge as it's attacking, and you can summon multiple of them. So couple that with Tempest Blades, and you can transform pretty quickly. You can fill it up very quickly. Anything else I want to mention about this? It can slow down enemies at a 40% chance, and if it attacks 40 times, it'll disappear, or if it moves a certain distance. Great skill just for extra DPS. Next we have Pressure Chain, which I, again, didn't really use, but it pulls enemies to you. And also stuns them, of course. You could spam it for a decent mobbing skill, but once again, I just prefer to use the main attack when I was mobbing. So I guess you can tell where the bad mobbing comes from when people talk about this class. When we get to 4th job, you'll see that it gets better. Final form. You can only use this form when your gauge is full. So right now I just need a few more attacks to fill it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now the gauge is full. And you can see it's like glowing, it's got flames and stuff going around in it. And when I transform, yours will probably be red, but mine is... oh, I used the wrong skill. But mine is different colors because there was an event a long time ago that allowed you to change the armor color. And the main reason I kept this one is because I liked how the flame looked. I did want to have the dark blue with like black, like that one looked really cool, but I couldn't get it, so I was stuck with this one, and I'm fine with it. But anyway, as you can see, you can use pretty much all of your attacks if you want to. All of your attacks are available to you, but it'll change the property of Wing Beat. It'll make it bigger, and it can mob now. Oh, by the way, you can teleport while you're transformed. So it can now mob. I think it does more hits as well. No, maybe not. Well, anyway, so when you're transformed, you get 10% final damage, 20% crit rate, 100% stance, and you can attack through weapon cancel, which is when the boss makes it so that you only do 1 damage, and you can also attack through damage reflect. So great class to just destroy bosses. You don't have to worry about pretty much any status, as long as you're transformed. And of course it lasts for 60 seconds, but with buff duration, you can make it last even longer. You cannot do that with the level 200 skill, by the way, which I guess I'll get to later. Anything else I want to mention about it? So after 4th job, it gets enhanced again, giving you 15% final damage instead, and 40% crit rate. Alright, so next we have Stone Dragon. And Stone Dragon, you put it down and it pulls enemies to its spot, and it also slows them down. So there you go, it like pulls it to the dragon, and slows them down. Also good for extra DPS, just to have out. Oh, and it has no cooldown, by the way. Or I think it has like a cooldown of like 3 seconds. Nope, it has no cooldown. So yeah, put it wherever you want. Alright, so next we have Curse Bite, which is a buff. And what it does is it gives you silly things, but it also gives you the ability to do 15% final damage to enemies that are applied with a status. So another good reason to have this guy out is that he applies slow. But of course, Wing Beat also causes slow, and it's just great. And the rest are passive. Every 4 seconds you recover HP. Okay. So then we move on to 4th job. And in 4th job you get the final upgrade to Dragon Slash, Gigas Wave. This skill makes me really love this class. So it attacks super fast. Here, let me actually buff. So it attacks super fast, but it only hits 1 enemy, so it's your bossing skill. And it does a lot of lines. Like, just look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. And of course this skill gets upgraded when you're in final form, or transformed, I mean. So it does 9 hits, just normal. Later on, you can increase the amount of hits it does by 1. But very fast, very strong, and a lot of lines. And when you're transformed, it does 11 hits. And mobs. It can hit 3 enemies instead of just 1. So then we have Dragon Barrage. I don't really find a use for this skill. It gets 40% extra damage if you're attacking normal enemies, like not bosses. So, well, I messed it up there. And it also has a cooldown. So I really don't know why I would use this skill. I mean, maybe it's good for clearing, maybe. But the next skill, hopefully it appears next, because that would be... It is! Oh, that's perfect! So Blade Burst. This is your actual mobbing skill. And its hitbox is amazing. I can just stand on the bottom platform here and spam it, and I can hit both of these platforms. Or, if the space is a lot greater, I can jump and use it. This is new. This is a new change that happened with this class. And it made their mobbing really good. Let me see, can I hit up there? So I could hit up there, but I wouldn't be able to hit the bottom enemies until they explode. So what this attack does is it summons swords, and the summoned swords do damage. After they get summoned, they explode and do extra damage. So the fact that you can now jump and cast it is amazing. I believe the hitbox on it is like... Here, let me just do this. So it's probably from here? Yeah, like here, going across, and then down like a little bit below you. Really great skill. And then if you jump, it goes even farther. The hitbox. So learn the timing, try to hit 2 platforms at once, unless the platforms are close like this. And you'll be mobbing really well. Anything else I want to mention with that? No. So yeah, once again, summoning the swords does 5 hits, pretty good damage. And then the swords will explode, doing an extra 4 hits. And it hits 12 enemies. It's so good. So then we have Inferno Breath. And it does a lot of damage, leaves fire on the floor. Nothing too special about it, I believe. I mean, the added damage is really nice. But, yeah, that's about it. You just shoot flames and then it leaves them on the floor. Advanced Tempest, like I said, is just an upgraded version of the previous skill, Tempest Blades. And it summons 5 swords instead of just 3, and does 4 hits instead of, what was it, 2 or 3 or something? I don't know. I think it was 3. And then it has passive effects as well. Then we have Grand Armor. The damage that you take is reduced by 30%, and then for your party members, it reduces their damage taken by 10%. And I believe the rest are passive. So I'll just hover over them real quick. Oh, no, we have 2 actives. Nova Warrior. Basically, Maple Warrior gives you 15%, you and your party 15% all stats. And Nova Temperance, which clears you of abnormal status and leaves you immune to abnormal status for 3 seconds. And yeah, the rest are passive. So moving on to passive Vipers, I did Gigas Wave extra damage, and Gigas Wave number of hits plus 1. So now it hits, a lot of lines. I didn't put anything into Inferno Breath. Once again, if there's any Kaisers that main this class, please leave a comment, making sure that I did this right. For Wing Beat, I did damage, I made it last longer, and I made it so that it doesn't disappear after 40 hits. Now it's 48 hits, so it lasts longer. Just overall lasts longer. Alright, moving on to Active Vipers. At 150, you get Kaiser's Majesty. And what this does is gives you 30 attack, plus 1 attack speed, and even if you're not transformed, as long as you have the buff, you can attack through weapon cancel and damage reflect. However, it does stack with transformation, so you could just get the extra attack speed and attack power while you're transformed, but it's also great if you just want to keep doing damage through damage reflect while you're not transformed. At 170, you get Ancestral Prominence. And if you watch the cutscene from Kaiser's, starting thing, you'll see that he actually uses this to try and damage Magnus and his little lackeys. So you're invincible while you cast it, and it does a lot of damage to a lot of enemies around the area. Just like this. You also blind everybody, unless they have their game set to not show skills. Like, yeah. It's very blinding, and the cooldown's very short, it's only 60 seconds. And then at level 200, you gain the ability to transform at will. However, this skill has a 300 second cooldown, but when you transform, it only lasts 60 seconds, it is not affected by buff duration, but you gain 15% final damage, 40% crit, so just like transformation, movement speed plus 10, and okay, so it's basically transformation. But like I said, it does not apply to, buff duration does not apply to it, but it just allows you to transform. So let's say you just got out of transformation, then you can go ahead and use this and go back into transformation. Alright, so let's go on to some mobbing. So I love the new mobbing. I mean, the way it used to work was you had to, like, you know, rope lift up here and then stand still and spam this. Then you had to jump down here and spam it. But now you can, like, actually move around with it. It's really nice. I really like it. Huge improvement. It doesn't seem like it does much damage, but believe me, it does. So, yeah. Oh, and I guess you can also have these two out. You can use the 170 Hyper. You could use the Flame Breath. There's a lot of things you could do, but mainly this is your main mobbing. And then, also, when you're transformed... Oh, I forgot to mention something about transformation. So when you're transformed, that is not the skill once again. In third job, this is how I train. You can actually teleport. I love this. It's so great. So what I would do in third job was just transform and teleport around doing the regular attack. However, once you hit fourth job, you can actually use Gigas Wave to mob. It hits 3 enemies only though. And let's say, you know, you could also use... Oh my god, really? Oh, let me kill this guy real quick. Where are you? So you can also use Blade Tempest while you're transformed. So you could teleport around, use Blade Tempest. You can also teleport in the air. So once again, great movement. Mobbing, very nice. And just overall, really nice, really good class. Is that all I want to show for the mobbing? I think so. Alright, so let's move on to the bossing. So I may have forgot to mention that the 150 Hyper also resets your cooldowns. So I'm able to do something like that, and then do it again. Alright, so aside from that, Blade Tempest to make sure you can charge faster. And I'm just going to summon another one of these. And basically, Gigas Wave. Make sure you have tornadoes out. My goal when bossing as a Kaiser is to fill the gauge as fast as possible. And then once it is filled, summon more tornadoes. By the way, you can't have commands while in the transformed state. So you'll actually have to have the skills on your keyboard if you want to use them. And that's basically all. I mean, you could do more things. I guess you can like summon the swords, but... So here's Damage Reflect. You can actually attack through it, like you do actual damage. And this is what I really wanted to show. That's why I didn't want to kill him too fast. So remember how I said you can attack through Weapon Cancel and Damage Reflect? I didn't mean that you only do ones without dying. I meant that you can actually deal damage. So Kaiser has the ability to have the fastest boss killing times. If there was somehow a boss that like was strong enough to handle like these godly players, or you know, had Damage Reflect and all that, like a bunch of defensive abilities, Kaiser would look at that and be like, huh, whatever, transform and attack. Or if you run out of transformation, then all you would have to do is use the 150 Hyper, and then you would be able to attack again, even if you're not transformed. So, yeah. I mean, the bossing was pretty sloppy, because I was trying to explain things, but basically Giga Swave is your main attack. You want to have Wing Beat out. I like to use the command version of it though, because why not? Let's see, what else? Was there anything else I wanted to mention? Oh, and of course have the summons, use the fire. Oh, actually, you know what? I did forget to mention one thing that's not actually important, but once your 4th job, the transformation becomes black. So in 3rd job it's red, 4th job it's black, and it looks really cool. So don't worry if your Kaiser doesn't, you know, have a really cool looking transformation. It looks cool when it's black, okay? This color right here, blue with purple, I mean, I like it, but I don't love it. But anyway. Yeah, so, see you in the next video.